Welcome to step 1 of module 3, and this step we'll go ahead and be drawing the piece that is missing right here. So we can start with creating. This will be the 5th piece being worked on, so we'll call this 005. It will go ahead and get saved into the module 3. We'll go ahead and hit OK. And once it's done being created, we can go ahead and just line ourselves up with a plane, since we're just going to be drawing the dimensions that we need. So I'll keep this opened right here just so you can kind of follow along and see how I do this. So first we can go ahead and start creating a sketch. We'll select this plane right here, and then we can start off the line. So for one thing, we know that the piece has to go over a certain amount shown right here, and as you can see, it's 16 from up here, so we'll have this go over by 16. And then now our pieces are 9.6. We're doing this saved from the front angle right there, so we can do 9.6. We'll select that right there. Then we can go over by 1.6 because we need to go ahead and put the studs in. And we know the studs are 1.6 high. Then we go over by 4.8 since that's our diameter for the studs. Then we go back down. Then we'll go over by 3.2. Then we go back up, go over by 4.8. We'll go back down. And then we go over by 1.6. And then we'll go ahead and close this off right here. So now that we have that done, we can go ahead and make this look a little bit nicer, just so it's easier to go ahead and read. We have 2 of these, so we don't need to have 2. We can keep this 1.6 right here. We can keep this 1.6 right here. And this is just so we can see the dimensions that we need to go ahead and use for when we draw our component. Well, when we make our 3D component. So now we'll go ahead and do a little bit of a space. So we can do like a 10 millimeter gap in between right here. And then we can just use the line up right there to make this a little bit easier. And we can now go ahead and start drawing the top view. So we know that's going to be 16 right here. Then we go over by 8 for the thickness. We'll go down by 8. And then we go back over by 8, back down. And we'll go ahead and line these up a little bit just so it's easier to see. We don't need this right here. We can go ahead and remove this line. Then what we can go ahead and do is start drawing the stuff up here that we'd be able to see. So if we're looking from the top, we'd be able to see the studs from the top. So what we need to do is just go over by 4 in these areas right here, just so we can go ahead and draw 4.8. And then we can do the same thing up here as well and draw the center circle of 4.8. And then we can just line up right here to be 4.8. We can delete these. And one thing that we'd want to do as well is we can go ahead and use these construction lines as hidden lines because there's going to be the gaps in here. So we want to go ahead and get those drawn as well. So we can go ahead and line up with the top of the circle, go over, we can go down by 4.8, go over by 4.8, over. And then what we can go ahead and do is just delete these right here because we don't need to have those. And then we'll want to do the same thing up here. So we can go ahead and go over and go down by 4.8, go over by 4.8, go up, finish this off right here. And then we can just go ahead and remove these dimensions right here because it just overdefines it. So us removing that goes ahead and shows us we need to go ahead and make this 4.8. All right, delete that. And then we just need to go ahead and do the one more area. Want to make sure we have it at 4.8. And there we go. We'll go ahead and remove these dimensions right there, and that shows us our hidden lines for where the squares would be at, and we also need to do the same thing down here. So we'll need to go ahead, go over by the 1.6, and this goes up by 8, and this goes over by 1.6, and then goes back up by 1.6, then goes back over by 1.6 because it's a 1.6 millimeter shell. And we'll go over, then we'll go back over by 1.6 and go down. That's your one area. We can go ahead and use this again. And that's how we go about for drawing the hidden lines. So we know that something in there. We can go ahead and clean this up. We don't need to have all the dimensions on the hidden lines because they're just hidden. And our goal would be to go ahead and get those defined in another way. So what we can go ahead and do is draw our bottom view now. So then we can go ahead and go down by 10. We want to turn off our construction real quick, and then we can now go ahead and start drawing our bottom view. So we can go by 16, and then we'll do 16 again, going down. It'll be 8 right here, 8 right here, over by 8 right there. And then now we'll go ahead and just be drawing the squares this time instead. So we'll find a middle, 1.6, then we go up by 1.6, actually we go up by 2.4, not 1.6. And then we'll just go ahead and finish this off because it's 4.8 all the way around. That's why I did the 2.4. Then we'll want to do the same thing down here. 0.6, 2.4, 4.8, 4.8, go back down. And then we can go ahead and line up using these. And then there we go. We have these right here as well. And then we have the little indent in the top too, so we want to go ahead and also get that put in. So we can line up doing this right here, and this little indent is just going to be 1.6. And then need to go ahead and take advantage of this real quick. I'm going to do 1.6. We'll delete that. And then we'll have hidden lines as well for the studs on the top. So we can go ahead and do that. And there we go. We now have that fully defined. We can go ahead and get rid of some redundancies. So then we don't have it so defined that's just hard to read. And we can also remove this right here as well. So let's see. We have the 8 right here, just so that we know that's 8 up here. Have this 8 right here, so then we don't need to have this right here, because then that is just kind of pointless. We see that it's 4.8 right here, so we can go ahead and remove this. We can keep this right here, move this over, and get these a little bit lined up. We move this right here because we just want to make sure that everything is easy to read, because if it's hard to read everything, then no point. We can get rid of that 4.8. We can keep this one right here just in case. We have that 16 up there, so we don't need to have that 16 right there. We don't need to have this right here because we know it's 4.8 and that they're just all squares. And now the drawing looks good. So there's one thing I forgot to do that I just realized that I forgot to do, which is putting in the hidden lines up here as well, because there's the little dots right here and they should be up here but as hidden because it'd be underneath the studs right here. So we'll go ahead and type in 1.6 on each of these things to go ahead and add in the hidden lines. And there we go. Good on that portion. Go ahead and save it. And you want to go ahead and update your to do. So where we just completed that, we have two things that we'll be doing. So this will go ahead and put us at 50% complete. We can go ahead and hit save. And then what we can do is go over to deliverables and drag and drop this down here into the deliverables. And now that we have that done, we're now good to move on to the next step.